said he was going to talk to me after the meeting tonight, so, yeah.
I don't want to
He'll be here.
start until he
She
can.
is 1 year old.
I gave him 1 minute thing.
Well, you also have 2 minutes.
She's old.
I mean, she'll be 18 months.
Yeah, we got the.
Announce.
Because she has lived her first year, first full year.
How you doing? Happy New Year.
Oh, because of, they don't count like, wait, what? How does that work?
Cherry blossom. That
I don't know
sounds
how that works.
delicious.
I haven't had a sip yet. if you want.
It's very good.
Can I smell it though? That gross you out?
I like the grapefruit. It's really good.
Yeah, I like the grapefruit.
Yeah, it's very.
Yeah, 601.
Summer, I like the.
Yeah, I took some time off. I had
Oh, I have that. Here he is.
busy, two little boys, so.
Brian got finished cramming his dinner.
But my wife knows
So part of this compilation.
fried major.
How to describe it.
Christmas celebration. We survived.
Staring at a static TV.
As long as nobody got the flu.
Yeah, my wife's.
You know, or like,
We made it
Yeah,
through.
she sleeps
but-
great actually.
Great.
Yeah. She's
She
through
had
the
it.
night pretty much.
No, I know, I don't
7
think
to like
so.
6 o'clock.
It's a bad one.
That's not bad.
I'm
No,
terrified.
so Chelsea and I are able to go to bed at like
Happy New Year,
sleep
Brian.
at like 8:30. I hate to say, but so we're in bed by like 9:30, 10 o'clock.
I kind of stopped.
Just let you get
drinking
settled.
water.
It's a little more well rested.
A little more well rested. Not
Oh, really? They
not
said
great.
it
I mean,
Not like we were
carbonation
before.
Water makes carbonic acid, so.
But that'll never.
It'll never
was
be
gonna
the
choose
same.
your bad things.
Yeah.
Why does that
In
sit
there.
They always say that they're friends.
That can happen with age.
I know it's a little more minute. Give me time to get settled, you know. We're easing into the new year. Okay, everybody, welcome. Happy New Year to everyone. I hope your Christmas holidays were great. This is the Traverse City Planning Commission regular meeting, January 6th. Call to order. Do we have to take roll call?
Commissioner Deturi,
Here.
Commissioner Hershey,
Here?
Commissioner Treadwell,
Here.
Commissioner O'Brien,
Present.
Commissioner McGillivray,
Here.
Commissioner Anderson,
Here.
Commissioner Swanson,
Here.
Commissioner Cameron.
Present.
Thank you. As always, our land acknowledgement, the land on which we gather is the territory of the Ottawa and Chippewa peoples who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. Thank you for your strength and resilience in protecting this land and inspiring us to uphold our responsibilities to do the same. Are there any announcements?
None at this time.
The office hours?
If we put it towards it's on the agenda at the end.
Oh, it is?
I mean,
Okay.
you could bring it up, but it's on there.
Okay, well, if you want to wait till the end, that's fine. Okay, so that takes us to approval of the minutes of the December 2nd, 2025 regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
I can move to approve the minutes from the December 2nd, 2025 regular meeting minutes.
Brian, you supported already?
Support.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Is there any old business?
None at this time.
Okay, so we will move on to new business. This is our organizational meeting where we select new officers, and I just want to say that it's it's been my honor to serve as the chair for the last few years. I've worked with some really great people, with staff and commissioners, including the commissioners who are no longer on the Planning Commission, on some really important things, and it's been great that these people really care about the city and the future of the city, so I want to thank you for that. And tonight we're going to be picking a new chair, so that's always an exciting time for an organization. So we're going to start with the election of the officers. And so I'm declaring that the nominations are open, and we're going to select officers in the following order: chairperson, vice chairperson, and secretary. Does anyone have a nomination for chair?
Can I add one thing before the nominations begin, just to
Yes.
clarify that? Ex officio members, so that would be Commissioners Treadwell, Anderson, and Swanson, are not eligible to serve as officers under the
Yes.
state guidelines.
Yes,
So,
thank you.
Yep.
Shay, I think I saw your hand up. Who would you like to nominate?
I would like to nominate Anna Deturi for chairperson.
Anna, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay, does anyone else have a name to put forward for chair? Okay, seeing none. We have Anna, then, let me make sure I'm doing this right. Okay, now we have nomination for the vice chair.
Don't,
No?
yeah, you vote on
You'll
it
need a
first.
motion to close the nominations in a second.
I do wrong every time.
I move we close the nominations and cast a unanimous ballot for Anna Deturi.
Is there a s-
Support.
Okay,
There you go.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. Congratulations, Ann, I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
All right, now we have a nomination for the vice chair. Does anybody have a nomination to put forward? Shay?
I nominate Brian McGillivray for vice chair.
Brian, do you accept the oops.
Sure.
Brian
Enthusiasm.
accepts the nomination. This was a question, so I have to close this one every time, right?
Yes.
Every time.
Okay. Is there any other name to be put forward for vice chair? Okay, so I'm closing the nominations. And I know,
Yeah, I
Motion
move to
to-
close the nominations.
okay, motion, I do it wrong every year. Motion to close the nominations. That was you?
Yeah, it was me.
Support.
Yeah.
We don't have to vote.
Yeah, we do.
We do. All in favor?
Aye.
I did read this 20 times, and I was voting wrong. Okay, so congratulations to Brian as the vice chair. Next is secretary. Do we have a nomination for secretary?
I move to nominate, nope, I don't move. I nominate Shay O'Brien as secretary.
Okay, do you accept?
I do.
Now we have to have a motion to close the nomination.
I move to close the nominations of secretary.
Support.
Are all in favor of closing nominations?
Aye.
Okay, so we've done that. Now we have to vote on each person individually.
No, we just did that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's, well, why is it number 5
Point
on
of
the list?
order. I'm not
Because
sure,
it was a
we
little-
voted to close nominations. I don't
Yeah,
know
we
that we
don't,
voted.
yeah, we closed nominations, but
appoint.
we didn't actually vote.
Oh,
on the
that's
vote.
Oh.
right.
The,
We
I will
did
say,
for-
the motion that Brian made
Brian's
for the
was-
first one was to close
Yes.
and unanimously vote for.
Yeah.
So the chair
The
did
others
get
were
voted
not.
on.
But not the other ones. So yes, now we have to vote on
Okay,
Mike, me, and
Brian, yeah.
so we have to have a motion second for Brian. So who moves to vote on Brian for the vice chair position?
I will make the motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Then we go on to
Congratulations.
Shay as secretary, who would like to move to,
I'll make that motion.
okay, second?
Support?
All right, all in favor of Shay remaining the secretary?
Aye.
aye.
All opposed? Phew, we got through that. Okay, so now we're going to take a moment to do musical chairs. Anna, do you want to come sit up here?
Sure. Do you want to
Brian?
just swap so we don't make other
It's,
people?
it's whatever you wish to do, but usually
Okay.
you do sit up here.
Yeah, let's just
So-
have us swap, so not everybody.
And
has-
then we can swap the tag, name tag.
That's this chairperson.
Been ready for this, so much stuff.
That's for Brian.
All important.
I have no gavel for you, my dear.
Use a phone or something.
Need a gavel.
Anna will want this too.
Yeah, I forgot that.
Oh, you passed mine down, doesn't matter.
Thank you.
Oh, no. This chair is not,
Okay,
thank you.
that was really fast musical chairs.
Yes.
So the next item of new business is B, annual bylaw review. We extensively reviewed these last year, y'all. So does anybody have any new thoughts, comments, concerns about them this year that are different than last year? Jackie?
Yes, in light of the city having adopted its new ethics ordinance, I wondered if we would like to consider updating the conflict of interest bylaws, page 6, section 7, to align with the ethics ordinance.
Let me get there. Is it a certain item, Jackie?
Well,
Like-
there is a section on page 6 of the draft. It's
Not a draft.
numbered section 7. It has to do with conflicts of interest. And it just seems to me that this is an opportunity for us to reflect the ethics ordinance that was adopted by the city and that applies to all
Ah, page
elected, appointed, and employed.
It's page 5 of
Page
the
5,
draft.
yeah.
Sorry.
6 or 7 of the packet, I
Thank
think
you.
is what Jackie meant.
Is it-
Any other thoughts about that? Let's go with Mitch, then Brian.
Yeah, I guess this is a question for Lauren, who is not here.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
even though, yes, the ethics policy did get extensively reviewed multiple times by Lauren, I do wonder if any part of this language is specific to the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act in some way that we can add a section C, but we shouldn't change A, B, and C.
In a section B.
Yes. that's
I'm going to
what
go to
section
Brian
B.
because he was up first, Jackie, but then you're next.
So just to be clear, if you read our bylaws, we would be amending our bylaws. And to amend our bylaws requires a written proposal be presented to the Planning Commission for consideration prior to the meeting.
Correct.
So we're just discussing everything now. We're not making any changes. I'm open to changes to the bylaws. I just haven't, to the ethics aspects of it, but I haven't, no one's provided me a copy of the new
Yeah,
city
that-
ordinance yet, and even though it impacts all of us, and I have got no opinion on it until I've been presented a copy and see what you're proposing to be incorporated.
Yeah, that was my first thought, is we haven't been delivered it yet, so I think maybe maybe we ask for a memo from the city attorney reviewing this aspect of our bylaws against and/or next to the ethics policy, as well as like asking for a copy of that, since we haven't received that yet, to be reviewed at a future meeting, because obviously Brian said we can't change it on the fly. And also, we can amend these at any time throughout the year. So I think there's no real rush. I definitely think we should consider it. I agree with Mitch in that not replacing, because we're already adhering to the Planning and Zoning Enabling Act, but like maybe an addendum or a D. But again, once I hear from the attorney, I'd feel more comfortable about that.
And can I add a suggestion on that? You know, these 3 items were listed out, the appearance of conflict, contractual conflicts of interest, and financial conflicts, and they were spelled out in the bylaws in absence of an ethics policy that addressed that. I think the easiest solution, once you're ready to do that, in this section, is just reference the ethics policy, because it's
Yeah.
all spelled out there. That way, if the city commission ever makes a change to it, your bylaws aren't going to be
Instead
out
of
sync.
conflicting.
It
Yeah.
just says, we will abide by the,
Okay.
but I think a valid point was made, getting some more information from the attorney. And I was in her office today and heard her talking about some training that she has planned in the next quarter or 2 with all the bodies. So I do believe that information will be coming to you shortly.
Jackie?
Just to say, I merely wanted to put it on the radar. If we'd like to consult with the city attorney on that subject for future direction and sharing of information with the planning commission, I'm happy.
Do we think that we need a motion to get the city attorney's attention to then review and provide us this feedback? Or is this enough for staff to just take to her and?
I think this is enough, and based on the comment I heard her made today about the programming that she's working on, I'm confident that it's coming,
Okay.
even without a motion in this particular case.
Okay, so
Yeah.
then I guess that closes that, we're going to come back to this at a future time when we hear from the city attorney, the conflict of interest portion, and we can amend at any time. So are there any other items within the bylaws that we feel like we want to address? Brian? It was very slow.
Well, I'm going to try and do this tactfully. And it has to do with scheduling. We're all unpaid volunteers up here, and we are scheduling our time and working around as I plan my vacation times. I'm scheduling time off for, avoiding 2 weeks of the year when possible. Can't always do it. And I will miss some time, but It comes down to, I'd like to know things if we're going to be, it's the way our meetings are handled. And right now, it's, if there's some conflict, sometimes we cancel the first meeting, we have the second meeting. And if you look at our bylaws, we can have study sessions, but we are supposed to meet the first, day of first Tuesday of the month unless. Now, I understand sometimes staff has conflicts with that, and we make changes. And I'm not, and that is, we're usually given plenty of adequate notice on that. We know that they're going to cancel it and switch it around. But sometimes we don't have a meeting, and then we have a regular meeting in the middle of the month at a study session because some applicant comes in and wants to do it, and they're not ready for the first meeting. And I guess I would like to see if there's any interest in it, I would like to see our bylaws really focus on sticking to one meeting, the first meeting of the month, and that if currently we require packets or applications be submitted 10 days in advance. And I think that if they want to schedule a special meeting, it should be done no later than the first meeting of the month. So that gives us 2 weeks'
To make it happen
notices.
on the third meeting?
Yes, if we're going to have a special meeting. I mean, generally, at the first meeting, we know, we're informed if we're going to have a study session, and what the topics will be, and it's put out there for us. But sometimes it just pops up at the end, and suddenly we don't find out we have a meeting until the Thursday before. And I just feel like our time's not being respected. It's just how I feel. And so I want our time to be, I want people to try and respect our, we have one meeting. We're going to know if we're going to have a study session. I don't mind meeting twice a month. I just want to know we're going to be meeting. If we're not going to meet, I want to know 2 weeks in advance. And then if for some reason that also allows us, if we can't make a decision or we need more time and we want to postpone it that first Tuesday to the third Tuesday of the month or reschedule something, that's the option we have as a commission. We're all here. We all have our calendars. We can make the decision. But I'm just saying that I don't like these surprise meetings after the first meeting of the month is canceled, then suddenly we've got a heavy agenda in what's normally a study session, as opposed to, and just, I think that's something, I'll write something up if there's any interest in it.
Mitch?
Yeah, echoing that, it's not unexpected. We have on our calendar every first and third Tuesday, or for many days this year, they happen to be Wednesdays because holidays push city commission meetings back from Monday to Tuesday. But we have a set calendar. Yes, the city of Traverse City has a lot more going on, including in its planning department, than, say, Grant Township or Casson Township. But the vast majority of other municipalities in northern Michigan have exactly one planning meeting each month. And the fact that we have two, one for business and another for additional discussion, does give a little more leeway for us to have longer discussions, but I don't think that that should get abused by a developer that says, hey, I can just get it in whenever and I'll get a meeting that will be able to vote on it at the soonest bi-weekly opportunity.
So, did you have something to say, Brian, in response to that?
No, I mean, I agree. We can, no.
I think, do you want to go before me, Jackie?
No, go
Okay.
ahead.
My initial thoughts are, yes, I agree. I think that the first meeting should be almost sacred, for lack of a better word. I think that the study sessions, we'll get to it later, but we have talked about the rewrite. So I worry that if the rewrite that is meant to make this whole thing easier, because it's going to condense the duplicativeness of our ordinances cut down on like the just confusing language and the ambiguous language. So it's just something to think about, that if we do that, if we are trying to prioritize a single meeting and cutting out study sessions, that leaves a lot of potential goals in the air, unless we have a larger meeting at the front. Or you're just saying, so,
I'm
okay.
just saying, I want to know if we're going to have a study session 2 weeks in advance of the study session.
Got it.
I don't want to know it on Thursday before the study session.
Okay,
I want to know at our regular meeting if we're going to have a study session. If the regular meeting is going to be canceled, I'd like to be able to know that, you know, we've had a couple of staff seminars or, you know, things that, and those things aren't planned, well, technically they're planned out a year in advance, but the people, unless you're planning it, you don't know about it until
heard.
3, 4
Yeah.
months, sometimes 6 months, whatever in advance.
So then
you-
what's your stance on?
So then, it's just a matter of that, let's put that in the calendar now. If the staff's going to be, you know, I don't think it conflicts, but you've got the National Planning Conference coming up. I think that's mid-April or late April. So, but if that had been the first week of May, then, you know, we know about that, so let's address that in the schedule.
Yeah.
Let's make a change now in the calendar so we can address those things. And it may not, but, you know, there might be the state conference that might conflict with the first meeting in October. Well, let's change that now. When we find that out, let's make the adjustment to the calendar then. It's not really a bylaws issue, it's just,
Yeah.
let's stay ahead so we know what our calendar's going to be.
As much as we can, because we know there will always be the potential
Yes,
for,
but
yes.
we have a lot of things to do on our study sessions
yeah,
that we can do,
agreed.
but it's also limited by, you know, the staff time, the
Yeah.
staff's availability. We're just a small part of their job, these meetings. And so I'm just, you know, if they're not ready for it, let's know that 2 weeks in advance.
Yeah,
And if we're not going to be here, just so we know. But
that's
I'm not-
fair.
Yeah.
And I agree that I don't think we should ever just try to rush the study session to have it if staff hasn't had time to put all together whatever they need for that rewrite section that we're in, or whatever item we're gonna address. I agree that we should not put that kind of pressure on. Did you say something about a special meeting also? I
Well,
just want
if-
more context there.
So what I meant was in December, we had was it December? November. Was it November? We did the special meeting that was because the application came in and it was 10 days before a meeting. It got pushed off or we didn't have a first meeting in November. I forget what it was.
Didn't have the
Okay.
first meeting because the election.
But I'm saying,
It was the election, and we were all at the conference, the
Right.
state conference. So that's why the first one
and-
got canceled.
But my point being is that if we're going to have that it should be the first, you know, that I don't want to be scheduling, so I want to know about that, okay? You're going to be in the conference, you got the election. Let's make that decision 2 months in advance, 3 months in advance.
Okay.
That's option number one. But number two, I don't want a developer to show up, or maybe the city commission throws something back at us, and they want us to have a special meeting at our study session you know, on that date, because they couldn't get it here in time for our regular meeting, or there's time to act. I'm saying I want to have that discussion by the planning commission for special meetings. I want that's got to be in 14 days in advance. In other words, if you want to have if you're a developer and you have something that you want us to review, but you can't have it reviewed until, but you didn't get your stuff in today, tough, you're going to wait till February. If you got it in yesterday, or if you got it in today, actually 14 days in advance.
In advance of this.
Yes, you've got it in today and told
Yeah.
us they want to do this, they want to schedule this, make it a special meeting, you know, then we can decide if we want a special meeting for them. I'd accommodate it. It's not a huge issue for me. But I don't want to find out that, talk about it today.
And then have it be Thursday and have
and-
it,
And have it, they submit it and they say, well, it's 10 days, they got to put it on, we have to have a special meeting. After I thought I had that time off. Now it gets yanked back. So, it's just a time management thing for every one of us.
yeah. Mitch, I'll bump to you and then go to staff, because I want their opinion.
Yeah, I'm not expecting us or the planning staff to have perfect foresight, but for study sessions, that should generally be a topic, say housing or some aspect of the plan rewrite, or we're looking at rezoning this corridor along 14th Street, and that will be an extensive process, so here we're having a discussion about some aspect of it. But we know that, certainly staff will know that more than 10 days in advance, we can have roughly calendared those things. And also, yes, we do have flexibility to have special meetings, but we should know sometime in advance when that's happening, because due to an election, due to holidays or whatever, we didn't have the first meeting, and other things get pushed back. I'm not expecting every department and board of the city to mirror this, but City Manager Marentet has, as the city commissioner, done a very good job of each Friday in his weekly memo to the city commission, gives a calendar for the next several meetings about specific agenda items that are likely to come up. So last Friday, I pulled it up, and I can see for all of the meetings and study sessions in January and February. Are those set in stone? No. The agenda gets set the Wednesday before, and then published on Thursday, but that still gives a broad idea about what topics are going to be hitting the plate at what time, and gives us, even if we don't have all the memos, some idea about what issues are going to be coming up that we can be preparing for and understanding some of the background on.
Jackie?
I just wanted to speak in support of Commissioner McGillivary's point. In preparing for tonight, I was struck looking over our shoulder at prior meetings at the dearth of Planning Commission meetings during the month of September, and then subsequently a special meeting called with short notice in mid-November. So while, like Commissioner Treadwell, I don't anticipate that we want staff time dedicated to filling in the blanks for a very complete identification of topics meeting by meeting. I think that the 2-week guideline would be very helpful. And I don't know whether there's any interest in perhaps re-examining who participates in development of our agendas and how those happen. So.
Yeah, Jerry?
Yeah, I also think, like, if you are someone that needs to come in front of the planning commission, like, there's no harm in saying, this is the meeting you can go to. Like, we're not gonna make an exception, or we can get this on last minute. Like, nope, the next meeting's the first of the month. Because I just think, I know they have a lot going on, but if they're working on a big project, like, they should know to build in, like, I gotta do this huge process and go to the planning commission. So I think as long as it's communicated to whoever's trying to get in front of the planning commission, like, this is our sketch, plan on the first meeting of the month, versus, we can get in
Yeah.
at the special meeting last minute, because then that would eliminate some of the last minute stuff.
Okay. Staff, let's hear everybody's thoughts.
Yeah, I'm happy to accommodate that. I just want to clarify, like, we don't get pressured by developers to hold the special meetings and push things faster than, because anything that comes to you has to go to design team before it even comes to you for staff review. So that automatically means it's sitting for 2 weeks after the application. So we haven't been in a position yet. We have tried to accommodate out of fairness in the past. So like the November special meeting was the result of their application was turned in time for the the meeting on the 1st, but it was canceled. And so they were waiting for an answer for the planning commission, so then they could go to the city commission. So we wanted to move them along. And the other one being in July. We typically have a special meeting in July because we don't have the first meeting because most people aren't available. So in some of those cases, that's where that originates. But I just want to clarify, like we've never accommodated a developer saying, I want this before the regular meeting. They don't even really ask about that. And then the other thing I was going to say, and sometimes the special meetings are actually generated by other departments. So the meeting that is scheduled in 2 weeks is prepared to be a special meeting because the engineering department this month is going out to bid on their projects for this next year, and they need the location character extent review by the planning commission before they can go to bid. So that is something they came and talked to us about today. So not a development, just a city city business situation that needs a decision by the planning commission.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay.
So we're
Yeah.
having a special meeting in 2 weeks. It'll be a
Yeah.
special meeting.
I mean, we're going to have the
Is-
meeting regardless
Right.
because we're going to be going over the annual report for the planning commission and
Okay.
stuff like that. So it was already scheduled. I mean, it is the third Tuesday too, but then engineering asked if they could have a decision because they need to go out to bid. And we said, well, we will be scheduled. We can, move that along. So that's the intent for 2 weeks from now, just to give you a heads up on that.
So I guess a clarifying question then, if we already have content that has to be on that meeting, that staff has already plugged in, and then somebody comes to them, whether it is a developer or a text amendment or city or whatever, and they've decided that a decision has to be made, that's fine, as long as you get that 2 weeks notice.
I'm getting it, I'm learning about it now, I know what my schedule is gonna be.
Yeah.
Look, I have those dates scheduled throughout my calendar for the year, okay? So they're booked. I just want to know 2 weeks in advance if we're gonna be meeting if we're having a second meeting that month. That's fine. I don't mind having the second meeting. I'm just saying if we're gonna have it, I wanna know it, and I wanna know what's on the calendar and what we're gonna discuss. And I don't like coming in for a meeting that we spend a second meeting or a first meeting where we only spend 30 minutes or we're out of here in less than an hour, but I gotta come back, the next month or in 2 weeks for another hour. I'd like to get things a little bit more condensed if possible. I mean, if
Okay.
we cancel the first meeting and go right and just have a second meeting, I'd rather have a 2-hour meeting than 2 one-hour meetings. I think that works for everyone. It's not always possible.
Yeah.
But, and that's good. And I think we met this July during Cherry Fest. Didn't we?
I think we did the second one.
Yeah, we didn't meet during.
We didn't meet
during
that first
Cherry
one.
Fest? We canceled it? Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe we should just cancel that.
I do
now.
think that's fair.
Let's just change the
And
calendar.
count that
You
We
s-
have one meeting in.
You said if you were chair, you wouldn't have summer meetings. I remember you
I
saying
know,
that.
but I'm only vice chair, so I don't even cancel one.
You get to
meeting,
cancel one.
So if we're only gonna have that one meeting, we should just
Yeah.
schedule it now and eliminate the first one off my calendar. So,
I think, yeah, I hear you. I think a lot of that is fair. I guess I would say, since we've now talked about this topic for a long time, I want to keep us moving. But I think that my idea, just off the top of my head, is in the planning department reports, like when we get to the reports section on the agenda, maybe that's where you're like, well, as of today, here are some of the potential, like, this is what we think we're gonna cover at the next session. We're definitely holding it, or we're not holding it, and here are some of our topics. Just like a blip outline so that we can jot, I think we're adults, we can jot it down ourselves so that we can prepare. But at least we're getting a little bit of that, and then staff and I can work maybe with something more in detail down the road if and when they have capacity and we have time to come up with a better system of like the potential review that you've talked about, Jackie. I think that like asking for that right off the bat is like not attainable. So I think if we start maybe putting it in reports, that would be great. Like you would stick in today's planning department report like this, we're having it, blah, blah, blah. Just to see if that works for a little bit. Yes, I agree. I think we are asked a lot of ourselves, especially with the last couple of years, master plan, there have been a lot of meetings, so I hear that. Any other bylaw review conversations? Because that was not really.
No.
Yes, Jackie?
I noticed in looking at the section 9H about public hearings that it requires a 1-year delay for reconsideration. And my question is whether that's aligned with the comparable policy for reconsideration in the city commission bylaws. Is it the same? Is it different? If it's different, I wondered why. So some help with that would be appreciated.
Yeah, I'm not familiar
I
with
have
the
no
city
idea,
commission
yeah.
bylaws. I've seen that so consistently that I wonder if it's not spelt out in the Planning Enabling Act. I'll cross-reference that. I see that a lot in planning commission bylaws, the 1-year wait for public hearings, so.
Perhaps
And
we
in
could add that
zoning
to the
ordinances.
question list for Lauren.
What were you saying, Leslie?
Oh, I was just going to say, it's usually in the zoning ordinance as well, that the same application can't come before you, whether it's for rezoning or like a zoning board of appeals request or anything. Generally, those have to be, you have to wait a year, come back
And-
again.
And you're just wanting it to be aligned, or?
I'm just wondering if it's not aligned, is there a good reason? And if there isn't a good reason, do we want it to be aligned?
The city commission rules, if I recall, vary based on what's being voted
Item.
on. And what kind of, whether it's an ordinance, a resolution, whether it's zoning. It's
Whether
like
it's budget.
budget, there's all sorts of, so, I mean, some of the stuff doesn't apply to us.
Complexities.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
so
And-
it's, but generally, it's all, I think they're right, it's all laid out in ordinance.
And most planning commissions will implement something like that in their bylaws to frankly not waste your time. Like I worked for a planning commission once where someone wanted to do a fireworks tent and it was voted no, and they just kept applying every month till the planning commission's like, we've already voted, like
Yeah.
unless you've changed your proposal, so they kind of beefed that section up a little bit to give them the strength they needed. So that's really where a lot of that originates, is so that once you've made a decision, someone doesn't just keep coming back to you, because if they do submit an application without some of that spelled out, those limitations, then you have to afford them the due process and go through the process again. It could, if it's one that requires a public hearing, I mean, that could get very expensive month after month, doing the same notices and stuff like that.
So is this worth an ask of Lauren to just get her take on it?
Yeah, we can, yeah. I don't know that it's as much a legal thing as it is more of a,
Review of the other
yeah, and
policy.
do you want to be inconvenienced by having someone, in my 5 years here, it hasn't happened, but I have been in communities where they've had those reoccurring applications just keep coming and coming for the same project from the same developer, even after a decision was rendered. But I'll definitely ask her.
Yeah, I think just tack it on to the,
What does the city commission say about it? What does theirs say?
Brian said it depends on the item, like
Yeah.
type, and there's a lot of complexity
And
to it.
sometimes you can bring it back, sometimes there's a 90-day rule, sometimes it's by bylaws, sometimes it's by state law, sometimes it's by ordinance. There's like 3 different scenarios. Because every time we thought we knew what it was, Benjamin would say, no, in this case, this is what applies. And it was always the clerk, so,
And I
not
think
the
that
attorney who
reflects the
told us, but.
So I guess we
greater
could ask
breadth that the
Sarah.
city commission has to deal with. There's so many more different topics that have different
Yeah, I
processes.
feel more comfortable asking Sarah at this point, I think, as the clerk, based on what you just said, Brian, because I just don't want to take up Lauren's time. We've already got one ask into her that I think is more important. So maybe we just have a review of the two and see what Sarah thinks, and then we're definitely going to come back to bylaws at some point because the conflict of interest thing, so.
The thing about it is, here's the, if you want to reduce it from a year, the fact is, we can waive the rules. If we decided we wanted to waive the rules, we could. So I don't know if you'd want to reduce that time. Someone has a good reason, they want to substantially change their proposal, wants to bring it back. We have the ability under our bylaws to change it. If it's in the ordinance, then we can't, so it doesn't matter. But that's always an option. So I don't see, if you want to lengthen it to 2 years, that's a whole other story.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel even better that you brought that up, that we'll have the clerk review and then get back with us. Mitch, did you have something or no?
No.
Okay. Great. Jackie.
Okay. In section 10A, regarding public comment during agenda items, it currently reads, as part of its deliberation, the Planning Commission may clarify, answer questions, and ask questions as a result of public comment. I am seeking some clarification on how this looks in real life. Does this imply that we have the ability by bylaw to interact with public commenters? Because I think it could be read that way. So I guess I'm asking about intent and if the phrasing needs to be clarified.
It says as a result of public comment. In other words, someone gets up, they make a public comment, they have their time in front of us. It's not our time to interrupt. As a result of their public comment, we can then ask questions. You could potentially ask a question of the member of the audience, or you could, but generally we would just simply make a comment regarding their public comment. We can ask staff questions about it. We can ask the applicant a question about it as a result of public comment. I think that's the key word, not during public comment, as a result of public comment, which means after public comment. We could ask those questions.
Yeah, I think it's just giving you permission to continue some sort of conversation, because as far as I'm concerned, we can't be going back and forth. We can't be answering questions.
And is that actually in the bylaws?
That's
anywhere?
in the Zoning Enabling Act.
Okay, then I would suggest that I find a simple reading of this to not be as clear as your understanding. I would propose that it be rephrased for better clarity.
Mitch?
Yeah, and both from a range of city boards and from a lot of other municipalities, the only time I have seen questions getting asked of a member of the public that isn't the applicant or a staff person is when we find through a person getting up and speaking publicly that we have an expert in the room that can answer questions that have been raised that the applicant, staff, other people are unable to answer. But that is a rather unusual circumstance, that not saying that members of the public don't bring expertise, but they are generally not uniquely qualified to answer specific questions that can't be better answered by staff, by the applicant themselves, or by somebody else that we can go and find that didn't show up to voice a specific opinion.
Debbie?
Now, I'm reading it, maybe this is what Brian was saying, as part of its deliberation, the Planning Commission may clarify. So, it does suggest after public comment, as part of our deliberation, we can clarify. We have occasionally answered a question that several members of the audience might bring up. But it's, again, as you said, Anna, we're not supposed to have this dialogue back and forth. But to me, it's clear because it says it's part of its deliberation. And you can answer questions, you can ask questions, and that may be asking staff the question, not necessarily the public the question. And I remember we spent a long time on this section.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing we talked about, so to me it's clear.
Any other thoughts? I could not even have this sentence in here. Like, I don't think we need that kind of clarification in here. I think it's clear to me what public comment during agenda items means. Because this is not speaking to us. It is speaking in particular to the public comment that happens after every agenda item. So it's really just saying you can deliberate about it after if you want, but like in a really lengthy, confusing way, in my opinion. It's like there's too many. Why does answer questions and ask questions? You could just say answer and ask questions. Like it really is a clunky sentence. So I defer to the group. I think it's a good point in that it probably isn't needed and it is pretty confusing. But also, like, is it worth going through the, I don't know, going through the whole process of removing that single sentence? I don't
Well,
know.
the bylaws are gonna, if you know, again, it comes back down to amending the bylaws. If someone wants to make a proposition, put it in writing, submit it to us for our next meeting. You got 10 days before the meeting, so that's Thursday. Or for a future meeting, and it's on the agenda, we consider it.
Yeah.
Simple as that. So, you know,
Fair. Any last thoughts on bylaws? Because I think that's a good ending point. Jackie?
Just one more,
'Kay.
please. In section 10, item D, about unduly repetitive public comment, it appears right now as though the presiding officer, which would ordinarily be the chair or the vice chair, has a unilateral authority to terminate what they determine to be unduly repetitive public comment. And I would ask my colleagues whether there is any value in having that require a motion from the commission and a majority vote of people on the commission, rather than it being a unilateral decision.
We've never had that happen. So in my opinion, I don't think it's necessary. Like, I don't ever plan on interrupting a public comment ever, other than when it's disrespectful. But if it's unduly and repetitive, we
Well-
sat through hours of repetitive comments, so I'm fine with it.
But I think this
But
is
go
why,
ahead.
a good reason why it's there. Sometimes a comment circulates amongst 30 people, and 30 people get up and word for word read the exact same comment. And I think if that keeps happening, it's okay for the chair to say, does anyone have a comment other than what we've been hearing? Because we've heard this now 22 times, the exact word for word. And I think that's why it's in there. It's not trying to cut people off necessarily, but, you know, meetings, as you know, can run to 11 o'clock if 50 people are reading the exact same thing over and over again. And I think that's what the unduly repetitive means.
That's fair. I hadn't thought about that instance of like a script.
Yeah,
It has happened.
that
Yeah.
has happened.
Jackie?
If there's no intention to use it, and if we run the risk of infringing upon individual freedom of speech, should we simply remove it?
No, I think the authority makes sense if it's happened before, like Mitch and Debbie just said.
How often has it happened?
Rare.
A couple times.
Yeah. I guess I'd go back to what Brian said, which like if somebody has, if you feel strongly, Jackie, about wanting it removed, you can put it in writing and bring it back before us. But I'm not getting the vibe from people that it's necessary to remove it right away. Yeah, Jerry.
I'm sorry, are you asking us to remove it, or are you asking us to remove the part
I'm
where there's a vote?
I'm asking it to retain the right to exercise that, but to have it be a consensus of
She wants
the
a vote
commission.
and
We
not
want a vote of the commission
a-
rather than a unilateral
a
decision
single officer.
by a single officer.
That just seems like prolonging the meetings to me.
And it's what the presiding officer's job is to
yeah.
keep the meeting moving.
Yeah.
Jerry, sorry.
Yeah, I'm never heard that term. I'm not trying to look something up, but the definition of it is literally to like disrupt some sort of proceeding by adding no value, slowing down, frustrating. Like that's the point of unduly repetitive. So I guess I get why we would want to prevent that. Like if it was clear that they were just, I've watched meetings where, yeah, there's obviously like people that are there to disrupt or make the meeting more frustrating. So I don't know, I think the chair can make that call if it's, I think we would all know that that would be happening if there was 30 people in a row just saying the same talking point.
Yeah. The one last other thing that I'd say about it is it throws an air of complication in the middle of a public comment to then have a motion and a second and a vote, and that's a lot on staff potentially. So like, again, I'm open to the idea of it if we all want to review this at a later date and amend the bylaws. Definitely, I'm open to it if enough people want to. I think at this point it's not a strong enough occurrence for us to go through an amendment. Looking at faces, any other bylaw thoughts, comments, concerns? Brian?
Just as an FYI, the bylaw amendment requires that they be submitted in writing to a meeting, and then action has to be taken at a subsequent meeting.
So you have to review for that first meeting
Has
and
to be
then
submitted
think
in
about it
writing,
and
and then review the subsequent meeting. So it's a
Heard.
two-meeting process.
two-meeting process.
FYI, if you get it in on our next meeting, you can deliver it, you can debate it on the 3rd, and I won't be here.
Very strategic.
Yeah. Okay.
So get them in early, kids.
I see how it is.
Any other bylaw conversations? Okay. Do we want, let's open a public comment, I guess, but it's typical to open the public comment after every item. So I'll open public comment on the annual bylaw review agenda item, excuse me. Seeing none, I'm going to close public, oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. Oh, this is something I'm not used to. Okay. Please state your name, address, city resident or not, and you have 3 minutes? 2
If
minutes?
you want, yeah.
Well, what's the usual?
We say 3. I think though in the bylaws it says 5.
Okay.
Sometimes, most of the time we don't say.
You have the ability. We
You
usually
get the
do.
memo. Thank you.
All right. Paul Wilkins, 610 North Madison Street. Number one, I guess I'd like to congratulate the planning department, because is it not right that you guys won the gingerbread contest?
They did.
You
These
did?
two.
Oh,
Right.
I didn't know that. That's
Sounds great.
There are
There's
pieces of it
remnants
in
of
the,
it in the
yeah.
office still, if
All
you
right.
want to see it
It was
afterwards.
beautiful.
Having worked for an international company as an engineer and a business manager, we really worked to be efficient, and we worked on commonality. And seeing that there are many appointed boards within the city, and there are many opportunities for public comment, I can't believe that there's not a common statement as far as how to deal with unruly, repetitive statements. That statement should be common across all bylaws, I would think. It would certainly be more efficient for our attorney to review it one time and then put it in every bylaw. Same thing with the verbal interaction. Guys, this is a no-brainer. This is efficiency. I'm stirring in my seat over here going, why are we doing this? And having the attorney spend time reviewing it for your department. Just saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on the bylaw agenda item? Okay, seeing none, closing public comment. As long as we are having the city clerk get back with us on whatever the other item was. I'm blanking now.
The time limit? How
1
soon you
year.
can bring
Yes,
something back?
yes. Can we also ask her if they have unduly repetitive shouldn't that be something that's like relatively easy for her to review, like Light and Power, and see if they have unduly repetitive? I mean, it's like a Control F situation, in my opinion. But I guess any one of us could also do that. We could pull up these bylaws for Light and Power and Parks and Rec and see if they have that kind of nature.
Can I make a comment,
Yeah.
please?
Yep.
That's really the purview of the city commission and city staff. We're a planning commission. If they lay this stuff out for us, that's fine. But it's not our job, and it's not the planning staff's job to go through everyone else's bylaws for every other committee.
Fair.
It's their job to make sure that our bylaws are, are reflective of what we do. So we do have, requirements at the state level and the zoning ordinance that guide this, which is different than every other. So, but there should be some commonality, yes. But that's an efficiency question for the city manager, the city attorney, city commission, not the planning commission, not the planning staff.
Fair. I agree with you. You're right. Gary.
It is in the city commission.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I
Great.
control F it.
I appreciate people control
Unduly
that.
repetitive or impedes the orderly progress of the meeting.
Perfect. Okay.
This language does come from places.
Ignore. Let's just. Yeah. Okay. Great. Perfect. Okay. Thank you all. Very thorough bylaw conversation. Okay. Agenda item C. 2026 Planning Commission goals.
Yeah, I'm going to hand this one over to Leslie to continue the conversation from the update this summer, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have put together some proposed goals for the Planning Commission for this year. Tried to make it a little bit more concise, and it's really heavy on the rewrite or reconsolidation of the zoning ordinance. It's been talked about within our office. It hasn't really been called out in the past. I think if, might be a good time to just confirm that this is a goal of the Planning Commission to do a full rewrite to make it a little more clear and fix some inconsistencies and just get a fresh copy without a lot of amendments within it. It's always a nice thing to do to get a new ordinance, newly formatted ordinance. So a lot of these would be part of that. Additional changes to the zoning ordinance relative to zoning amendments that are called for specifically under the master plan, and then other ones that have been sort of on the list. And then there's some intertwined projects that would be necessary in order to make some of those changes, things like a corridor plan for 14th Street. We've talked about doing a pattern book or some kind of pre-approved plan sets for certain housing types. Things like that are a little bit more project-oriented, might involve more resources, things like that, but would inform the zoning ordinance, are also listed on this list. Of course, the Riparian Buffer Committee, which I can give you an update on, Riparian Buffer Ordinance is also on here. I don't know if you want to try to put this in a certain order, or prioritize, or hit on certain things that are must-dos for this year that you consider really important to get done, or if you think that something's missing.
Okay. Brian?
We debated this quite a bit in the summer. I don't see anything new on here. You didn't try to slip in anything in there, Leslie. So, I have my disagreements with it then. I still have my disagreements now. I'm not going to rehash them.
Yeah.
Unless somebody has something they want to add. The only thing I really think is, my top priority is let's get the riparian buffer ordinance done. You
Yeah.
know, it's really should, we just need to move it along. But a lot of this other stuff, zoning rewrite, you're going to hire a contractor. Is that in the budget?
We were going to do it in-house.
You're doing it in-house? I thought you were going to do, you guys were looking at in-house.
Yeah.
busy year.
Yeah, it will be.
Started yesterday.
They'll hire
so.
interns.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
Mitch?
Yeah.
More work for us, too.
Also, my top priority is the riparian buffer, not because it is the single highest priority in all of Traverse City planning and zoning, but it is something that I hold deeply personal to myself. It's something that I and it's something that city planning has been working on longer than any of our current planning department staff have been in their jobs.
It's true. Yeah.
Which I think speaks for itself. This has been 6 years in the work, and yes, there was a pandemic, there were other delays, there were various things that happened, and re-examinations of scope of specific portions of what does Lauren have to say legally about what we can do here or there. But I'd say it's long overdue. I like it being a goal, though I would actually strike E under the 5 bullet points, fold into full zoning ordinance rewrite. Not that we won't do it, but that I don't see that as a specific step in this process any more than it is for any other ordinance. Yes, we're working on it, and depending on where we are with the rewrite, it will get incorporated in, but we shouldn't view this any different once it's written as our other ordinance have been, and we get it to a form that we are ready to adopt. Then we can vote on it and pass it, and City Commission can vote on it, and how it falls with the rewrite is just how it falls.
Okay. One thing, I don't see a specific like bullet point that addresses this, but one thing that I thought about is when we talked about the project in November or December, the project, the PUD, is it PUD? Lot size requirements. I'd like to talk about that. I think that that lot size requirement feels too large. I mean, it would be interesting for somebody to research how many lots even would qualify for that in the city as part of a rewrite conversation, just as like a bullet point within the rewrite. Because if we have one lot left in the city that qualifies for that, that feels like a silly size limitation, an arbitrary limitation. I didn't really see that fitting in here. I'm sure it would organically come up, but just to think about, like, as part of the rewrite, the historical context of why we put that there. Like, because sometimes there will be zero historical context. Sometimes I guarantee we'll find something that somebody just arbitrarily decided in the 90s that that was the number we're going to go for. So like that kind of background information and context would be helpful on any portion of the rewrite, just so we can think about it from their lens and also from our lens, which is future focused. Debbie?
I have a couple things. So similarly, the discussion that we had about building material durability, and remember you created those charts from other communities. I'm going to hopefully finish off that discussion and come up with our own parameters. Also, under the communication goal, I just want to ensure we really do have joint planning commission and city commission meetings where we really sit down and talk about a subject and discuss it thoroughly. Not that something's presented to us, but that we talk with one another. And then the last thing I need to bring up, and I guess it's under, I'm not really sure where it fits, but I just wanted you to know, I've had 2 conversations with the city attorney about the relationship of the city strategic plan to the master plan. And she is willing to write a memo about this, but she needs a motion from this board to ask her to write this memo on the relationship between the strategic plan and the master plan. And I would like to put that motion forward so we can get that going, because we've talked about it a couple of times, and I think many of us felt like, hey, there's not an attorney sitting here to explain it to us, so we would like to have some clarity. So I'd like to put forth the motion that we request from the city attorney that she produces a memo on the relationship between the city strategic plan and the master plan.
Is
I'll
there-
second that.
Okay, Jackie? Wait, can we engage in conversation before the vote?
Yeah,
Yes.
you
Yeah,
could,
this one,
and
okay.
you typically would open up public comment prior to the vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, Jackie, go ahead.
Okay. I would appreciate hearing from our city attorney on that subject. I have some suggestions for specifics, because the strategic action plan that's being developed as a result of the adopted strategic plan does include department-level objectives and key results, and that, as I understand the process, that's going to be reflected, those OKRs are going to be reflected in the budgeting process coming up this year, as well as performance evaluations. It's going to be integrated throughout a number of city processes. And my request relative to these goals for 2026 was to ask for some commentary on how exactly they support the OKRs for the planning department, because I think the money will follow the OKRs, and that can impact how far we can get on these goals.
OKRs?
OKRs, objectives and key results.
Yeah, they're like a marketing
Here,
term.
I have
You've been in
another- I
city
have another
government too
acronym
long
there.
now.
Yeah.
You're adopting the acronym soup.
I
Anyway, so
think-
should we broaden that to include, the stage that the strategic plan is at, which includes objectives and key results at a department level?
I'm
I
not
don't think
interested in
so.
that.
I really, it's a
You
really
don't wanna
simple,
know
it's a really
how
simple
it impacts
question.
the planning department.
I believe that staff will dictate to us, not necessarily this staff, but their supervisors will dictate to us how, by way of just seeing what their responsibilities are and what they have to prioritize. I don't think it's our place to be involved in that. I think it's our place to stick with zoning and to stick with land use, and how staff spends their time and what they have to prioritize is not our responsibility as a board to be managing, unless it pertains specifically to land and land use. So I don't think I'm interested. I would be surprised if it wouldn't come up as part of her conversation, or as part of her review, the city attorney's review. But yeah, it doesn't make sense for me to have that at this point. I want to first find out whether or not we're even beholden to a strategic plan, frankly. Brian?
So, the outcomes and the OKRs, whatever, for the departments is not the outcome from the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission is an independent body, okay? So you can make goals for us, but I don't think you've made goals for the Planning Department. If you've made goals or you want things to come out of the Planning Commission, then that's a discussion you need to have. It's a peer-to-peer discussion that needs to be had. That being said, if there are things in the strategic plan you want adopted into our goals, this is the time to put them forward, because we're talking about, is there anything else we want to add into our goals? So I think you've got to say, if you've got things that you want added in, then you should present those things for our consideration. But we have goals for things the Planning Commission here wants to accomplish, not what we want the planning staff to accomplish. Because like you said, we're only a part of their job. So I know people think that that's all they do, but, they're involved so many other aspects of city government are intertwined. So I'm
I
open to
think-
hearing them, but
yeah,
this
I
is a
think-
separate motion.
I think I'm hearing you say that the strategic pillars within the plan, things like affordable housing, is something that you believe our planning commission has the opportunity to discuss as a goal for 2026?
If you want to put that forward as a goal, then you should submit that. You shouldn't ask me whether or not, I mean, really, it's a question of, presentation should be, I want to come up with ideas for increased affordable housing. I want to continue that as a goal. It's been on our goal sheet in the past. And if you have, well, that's a great pillar and a goal, it'd be good if you have concrete strategies to address that. Some of that stuff we've already done, and we did have a meeting with the city commission on that. And we talked a little bit about, maybe there's some things that we could do outside the city commission and that staff can do. But that's a direction from staff. That's a direction from the city commission to staff. If you recall from that meeting, my approach was we should take everything with a broad brush. Let's get it all out there so it can be used. Let's do the establishment. The city commission's decision was to focus on only one aspect, one thing at a time, okay? So that was your position, and that's kind of how staff will react to that. We can't tell staff to go against, the city manager, and that the city manager isn't supposed to go against the city commission. But if you have something to say, well, affordable housing is a great goal for the city, personally, you got to have when you guys have your action plan put together and you have things, come back and let's talk about it. Or if you have actual steps to do. We have goals of affordable housing, but how are we going to accomplish that goal? It can be an objective, but I need something to, come up with something else that you want under there for how are we going to do this? What are the steps we're going to take?
And frankly, a lot of the sub-bullet points, I think, could tie back to it. We just don't have a listed goal. But like under the complete rewrite, objective 2C, we talk about setback considerations. That's pretty vague. So we could talk about any and all setbacks, which, in my opinion, would have an impact potentially on housing. So they could tie back. I just think that this kind of way provides hopefully a little more structure and guidance for us to check some of these off throughout the year. Mitch?
Yes. Housing, I would say, is a bigger priority than the repair and buffer as a community level. We have checked off a number of specific planning and zoning related tools for housing over the past several years. But for this is the first time in at least 6 years that housing in some specific way hasn't been a part of the Planning Commission goals. And I don't think we should have one word housing, but to recycle the language from a previous year of pursue opportunities to expand the availability and diversity of housing types in the city. That isn't specific to some zoning change here or there, but it can cover a wide range of things that may come up in the future. And that can tie into, as we're doing not just setbacks, but if we're doing the rezoning on 14th Street, we have in our goals to expand housing, so how can that work into this discussion? And yes, it's vague, it's not something that you can just check off and say, we did that, and it's done for all time, but I would like to see something in there.
Yeah, we do have the motion, and we do have to go to public comment. So
I think we should.
are
hold
we
on.
okay with going to public comment and then coming back and continuing this?
Yeah, so, and
Okay.
this motion is really, honestly, I'm tempted to vote no. I don't mind it. I'm happy to do it. But the fact is that we're talking about our goals, and this is kind of outside the whole question of the goals. So I don't think this ends the goal discussion.
No.
No.
But we can.
But I think
No,
it fits
we are
under
getting up,
communications.
but we have a
It
motion
will
on the
continue,
table.
correct.
We
I
need to
wanna-
address that first.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna open public comment. We're gonna come back to the motion. Then we can keep going with goals.
Could we have a reminder of the motion, please, or
Yes.
reread of the motion?
Katie, did you capture that?
I captured some of it, Jack, or Debbie, can you help me? I said request from the city attorney that she produces a memo for the planning commission. I forget how you worded
Regarding
it.
the relationship between the city's strategic plan and the planning commission's master plan.
Okay. What was the word before? What'd you say?
Relationship.
Relationship between?
Reiterating or
Relation.
stating?
Relationship between the
Yeah.
city commission's strategic plan and the planning commission's master plan.
Okay. Okay. We're gonna open public comment, then we're gonna come back to goals.
Or vote.
Nope, you're right. Then we're gonna come back to vote, then we'll go back to goals.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any public comment on the goals for the planning commission? That's the specific item we're talking about now.
No,
No,
we're
not
not.
the goals.
We're talking
About
about the
the
motion.
The motion.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But is there can there be public comment on the
Yes.
motion?
Yes.
Okay,
Public
okay.
comment on the motion, yes.
Great, so we're doing public comment, I'm so sorry, on the motion for the city attorney to review the relationship between the strategic plan and the planning body's master plan. Okay, I apologize for having to amble through that. Okay, seeing no response, closing public comment on the motion, coming back to the body. All those in, do we discuss or do we
You
have to
can ask if
vote?
there's any
You can
further
Okay,
comment.
any further comment on this motion? Yeah, Jackie.
Point of order, this motion and this topic was not noticed in the agenda?
It's not required to be, I don't think, if we're just asking for a memo.
We're asking for a memo, and I wasn't really sure where to bring it up, but I thought it fit under communications goals. In order to get the memo, we need to have a motion and a vote, or we can't have the memo.
I think it's a questionable
Yeah.
appropriateness, but I think it's there, let's just do it. In this case, it's questionable, but I wouldn't, I don't want to spend an hour studying it one way or the other.
Yeah. Okay. Are we ready for a vote on the motion? Okay. So, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none? Motion passes?
Thank you.
Okay. Goals. Back to goals.
I have to agree with Mitch. I'd like to have either something that carries over from last year, whatever we said about housing, and if some of that has been accomplished, we'll take that out and see what's left. But I always want to have a housing goal in here.
Just to be fair, the communications one is carrying over.
They
And
can-
riparian.
they can
Oh,
carry
I
over.
see. You just
I
specifically
just
want
am asking the
housing.
housing to carry over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brian?
Wasn't waiting.
Okay. Jackie?
In terms of this as a goal-setting process, this is, has some gaps in it for me. One of them has to do with accountability for the results. And I would propose that we begin our deliberation on 2026 goals with a rather more complete wrap-up of how far we got on our 2025 goals. I was struck by the number that are being carried over. I'd like to understand why those didn't get completed. What did happen, what didn't happen, what were the barriers? Is there anything that we can anticipate and be proactive about working through in 2026 if we do carry them over? So I think that sense of holding ourselves accountable, I'd like to propose that we request from staff a quarterly goal progress report that would help us to understand so that hopefully something like the riparian buffer ordinance isn't carried over for a period of years, that we can help ourselves to be disciplined in the timelines for these goals that we apparently want to be serious about.
Can I hold on that one? Because
I
C, I think, addresses that. And I wanted to see if Leslie had an answer to that, because.
I would like to continue
Okay.
my comments, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And then the other issue that I have is to do with alignment. And I appreciate that we'll have a commentary from the city attorney on her perception of master plan versus strategic plan. I think that alignment of every department in the city with the strategic plan is, it's coming. It's going to be happening through the budget process this year and on an ongoing basis, and that we should be prepared as the owners of land use in the city to be responsive to that. That's my perspective, and anything that we can do to enable that would be a positive, not a negative. I think the further we divorce ourselves from the strategic plan process, the less successful we'll be. So accountability and alignment are my watchwords in looking at goals, goal setting, goal performance. I think that we need to be more diligent about establishing timelines and identifying resources and setting priorities for these goals. If you read through Leslie's very excellent October summary of where we stood after 9 months, it was difficult to not notice that there appeared to be more items on the staff-initiated side that were making progress and getting completed than perhaps there were out of our original set of goals. There are many possible reasons for that, but I think that part of our oversight responsibility should be to ask for that information. Thank you.
Okay, so accountability, I see the improved communications item C. Sounds like that's kind of in alignment with what I'm hearing Jackie wants, and I think that we did talk about last year having some sort of checkpoint. Can you expand on that a little bit just to see if I'm in alignment with what that item means?
So that item C, which is development dashboard to publicly track development projects, is really more like we have an applicant who's come in, this is where they are in the process, and has that been built? And even, or, you know, has it been permitted, and where is it in the process?
Gotcha.
And that's even part of the redevelopment ready requirements. And, you know, there are some places like the city of Grand Rapids where they have a complete dashboard and map that goes with it, where you can find every open permit for everything, whether it's, you know, as small as adding a deck or something to your house or a porch. Everything's on there, and you can track them all. I don't know if we need that level, but we should be tracking those things and making that publicly available information. But I don't, you know, in the past, we've done the Gantt charts showing proposed months to get each of these goals addressed. And I think it would be a good way of tracking all of these to keep a Gantt chart up to date on the website, and move those projects along in that kind of dashboard so that we can all see where they're going and what hasn't been hit yet.
Okay.
So, you know, I don't know for sure if that's going to fly, if we have the capability of doing that, but I think that could maybe be added under communication.
Okay. Debbie?
Love the Gantt chart, because it really was helpful. Something else that's easy to do that might also be helpful is when you're listing the agenda items, put in parentheses next to it, each item, if it applies, like, and I'm just saying communications, goal A. This has to do with that. So that we can look on our agenda and see that the things we're talking about are pertaining to different goals, and we know that we're doing work towards reaching them. That's an easy.
I think that's a fair idea. Jerry?
Yeah, just looking back at our goals, I think from 2025, didn't we go over them in the fall?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
October 2nd.
But, like, for example, I'm looking at the short-term rental ordinance. That was a goal.
Mm-hmm.
From my understanding, we did our part and we sent it to the city commission, and so it was that goal to reflect. Is that goal done? Did we do our part? And now we're, like, from the planning commission, we
set it up.
We
set
gave
it,
an assessment.
and now we have to wait till
wait.
it comes back. I'm just wondering,
Correct.
like, when can we say that goal was reached, even if it's not, if it's out of our hands, if the city commission has to now run with it, the planning commission, we did our part at this point until we get more direction, right?
Yeah.
So, unless we decide to attack the issue from a different direction.
Correct. Yeah. So,
Which would be foolish without direction from the city commission.
because we don't know how it's going to land. So, here's my opinion on goals. I think, Jackie, you definitely won't like this, but I do think there are other people that won't like this. I don't really care about them. I care about them if somebody is managing a person, sure. Get a couple goals here and there. I think they are unfair. I think we should have goals for ourselves as a body that we can know whether or not we're in the right lane or if we're out in left field. But it is not my prerogative to be creating really strict, really like boxed in goals for us to accomplish in the coming year. This is the most conversation we've ever had about goals, with the exception of maybe last year, like on this body. The first couple of years on this body, we talked about goals for, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes, Brian, and we moved on. They are supposed to be guiding points that are like the light in the distance. We can just know we're going in the same direction. They are not supposed to be prescriptive for staff. That is the city manager's responsibility. They are not supposed to be prescriptive for us because we still have to prepare for things coming from the public, text amendments, development projects, PUDs. And I don't feel like we should prescribe, because I'm kind of in support of Brian, every single meeting every 2 weeks for every 12 months this year. I want a guide. I want to know roughly where we're going. But like next month, you can tell me we're on the ship for riparian buffer. Next month after that, maybe you can tell me we're on the ship for a rewrite of a different section. That's my stance on goals. I have been in enough different careers where I think it all depends on the person that is managing those goals of another person and how they feel about goals. So I think these look great. I don't mind adding housing somewhere in there, although I feel like they are addressed in some of these sub-items. That's my stance. Shay?
I tend to agree. Like, if you get too prescriptive, you're basically doing the job that the goal is that the goal is guiding you towards, right? Like, and the housing thing, housing's always in the back of my mind, plain and simple. And I think housing relates to every one of these goals. I get that, like, if you put it on there, it's that guiding light, but I personally think that every one of us is thinking about housing all the time, and it relates to all of these goals already. So I don't know how I feel about, I don't think it's necessary, personally.
Yeah. Brian?
This is my suggestion. because one of my goals is to be more efficient with our time. So write up your ideas, submit them to staff, they can provide them at a meeting, and we can vote them up or down. Simple, then we can go. I'll tell you right now, no, not quarterly reports on our goals. I'm more along with Shay and Anna. I mean, if we could, you want to be accountable for our goals, well, then make one. Okay, our goal for this year will be the riparian buffer ordinance, and that'll be it. And then we can meet that goal, because that's a meetable goal. If we were masters of our own time, that'd be great. But people keep bringing other things to us. Okay, they want to build things, the city wants to fix roads and bridges. All that stuff eats up a ton of our time. And if we want to, if you want to get all the stuff done, then put everybody in a room for 3 weeks, and you can work 12-hour days, and we'll get everything on the list. We'll solve all the world's problems, or we'll kill ourselves, probably the latter.
Or both.
But the quick way to do this is let's just put it in writing, submit it at a future meeting, and we can vote it up or down.
So are you?
February 3rd sounds like a good day for that.
Are you
I'm sure we'll do
suggesting-
that.
Are you suggesting we don't vote on these tonight, then?
I'm suggesting we don't vote on these tonight. I don't have anything in writing in front of me, I just have some comments and some statements.
Okay.
There's no, I mean, it was, what I was told was, these are the goals, do you like them or not? Do you want to add things? I've heard all sorts of suggestions, but nothing really fleshed out in a motion, other than yours, which was kind of questionable as a goal, just a clarification
It's a
goal.
clarity thing, it's not.
Yes,
yeah.
but, I don't see anything, no one's given me anything in writing, or that's, simple.
Do we need to
You guys
move?
want to add housing, and the housing, there's nothing new there. It's just you want something on there because it looks good. And it reminds you, it just shows, well, this is always one of our goals.
Right.
Well,
Well,
that's not
well,
really
you
a
know,
goal, that's more of a,
That's important.
principle.
That's important for the public who looks at our goals, is that there's some mention of housing to know that it's important to us. And to be fair, in previous years, we said there were too many things on here to achieve, and so I think staff did a really good job of trying to shorten it, because a lot of these things that are on here, we have talked about and have been mentioned, and so you've been obviously been keeping a list, and so, they're on here. And the only thing for me about the goals is staff does need some direction, right, of what to do, and so that's why it's here, but they're very open-ended. And as they should be. I don't think they're overly prescriptive. They're open-ended.
No.
So,
And
But I-
just to be clear, we don't need to move
No.
for these goals. They just exist in the
okay.
background.
So we don't have to approve them.
No, and obviously they'll come back because we are noodling over them. There's been a lot of discussion. People might have different ideas after this discussion, but we don't have to adopt, we don't have to move, we don't have to,
But
those
they're
are
ju-
just
they're
a
just
guiding,
there.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just feedback to staff.
Yeah.
That's one thing. So, so give them some feedback in writing and let them put it to make their job easier.
And we'll get a
And
memo on
we'll get
February.
a memo for the February 3rd meeting.
Yeah.
And
Keep
we guys
saying
can
it.
vote on it then.
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, we'll probably go ahead and put this on the next study session meeting just as a placeholder in case the conversation wants to continue. There doesn't have to be an expectation that it goes into depth at that meeting, but if any of you are like me, as soon as you walk out of this meeting, that's when your ideas are probably gonna come to you, so we wanna hold that space, that you have that opportunity. Two quick things on that. This year is a little unique in the discussion on what goals you want to achieve, because the rewriting of the zoning ordinance provides a lot of opportunity to explore and incorporate, and there's probably going to be things that you're not even thinking about now
Right.
until you roll up your sleeves and get into it.
Right.
The last thing I'll say is, as you guys were talking on the topic of the development dashboard, I emailed you all 2 links from the City of Columbus, Ohio. They have a great little system there. I've shared it with our IT director because we need some I don't know, technical advice on how to even pull that off, because it's way above my understanding.
Okay. Okay. Great. Seeing nothing else from the group, I think I'm going to move or open public comment on this agenda item C, which is our goals, Planning Commission goals. Seeing none, oh.
Okay, Paul.
I'm not going to repeat my instructions. You remember them.
That's fine. Paul Wilkins, 610 North Madison. Again, I'm perplexed coming from a business background where we run fiscally responsible, and my expectation is the city does too. I like to always make sure that everyone in the organization is pulling in the same direction, and that's kind of why you do have goals. And I would think that this whole discussion about, well, we really don't need them, or we're going to just throw housing out there because we got to make it look good to the public, that's scary, guys. All the more reason why every one of the initiatives that this board looks at should align with one of the 6 pillars in the strategic plan for the city. Is it moving in the direction that the strategic plan wants it to go? And I understand there's a difference between the master plan and the strategic plan, but to know that you guys are just going off rogue that's concerning to me. It really is. Now, I did go through the City Academy. It was a great foundation. There's a ton of stuff for me to learn, and I need to make a transition from my business background, and again, I worked for a multinational corporation, to come back into the city and go, how is this working? Because it just doesn't seem to be as efficient as it could be. So guys, just think about that. And why wouldn't you want to have some main direction on where you want to go? When I was looking at your goals, the first thing I did is, what happened in 2025? What were the goals and how did they do? And oh, by the way, I think it was Jerry, you mentioned, did we get the short-term rental thing done? And I kind of scratched my head and said, I keep a pulse on it, but I didn't know either. That would be a great place to go because, guys, feel good about yourself. Pat yourself on the back and say, dang it, we knocked that one through, we knocked that one through. We didn't get to that one, but we really needed more resources. And that's where you corral the resources to get you over the hurdle if you happen to be stumped on one. It seems like this riparian rights might be a stumper to get yourself over. So anyway, I thank you for the time, and I do thank you for each taking the time to serve on the board. It's appreciated.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Okay. Back to the group on goals. Okay.
We're ready for us to send additional notes to staff, and then we'll get some memos on the 3rd.
Sounds good to me. Okay. Moving onward, we're going to move to reports. Update from the City Commission?
Well, yesterday, I guess we didn't swear in since that was last time, but we have a new city manager in Ben Marentet, and we swore in Sarah Lutz as the city clerk and Rebecca Adler as the deputy city clerk. We did have the city commission hearing on the easement for the Marriott Hotel from the planning commission meeting in November. And I'm pleased to report that the aspects of liability and maintenance that we had brought up are incorporated into that easement language. So the city is not on the hook for maintaining it or if anything goes wrong. We continue to own it, but it is not an undue cost to the city, and it is aligning with our plans, as we've already discussed. Also, we had quite a bit of discussion about properties on State Street, the proposal from a developer, John Sachs, to put in a parking deck at State and Pine. Currently is city-owned, and we are, I guess, intrigued by the possibility of that, but we went out for an RFQ, request for qualifications, to get a sense for both how this plan could actually work and what other plans could be brought to the table. We had discussions about the future of the Bijou and Carnegie buildings, which we're going out for RFPs on that, for future lease or other agreements for how those will get used, since they're also city-owned properties that have seen public-facing uses, but what that use looks like in the future and how it contributes to the vibrancy of our downtown and Traverse City as a whole, we'll have to see. Anything to add?
Jackie?
Just to expand upon those things, one of the motivators for both the request for proposal and the request for qualifications process is to encourage public input and comment, provide multiple opportunities for that. So we are anxious to hear from those in the community who will be beneficiaries, and we want to know their perspectives.
Planning department update.
Not a whole lot. We do want to let you know that registration will open this month for the National Planning Conference in Detroit. It's kind of a unique opportunity. It's never been held in Michigan. If you are able to make it, we have incorporated that into this year's budget. It will be April 25th through the 28th. So the city covers for the Planning Commission their registration and travel and accommodations while they're down there. The national conference, I've been to it twice, and if you find value in the state conference, the national conference is just over the top. I mean, it is about 5,000 to 7,000 people over the course of the 4 days, and every topic across the country you could possibly learn, many of which won't be relevant to us, such as, hurricane mitigation in the Gulf. And, but those are the type of things that are talked about there, and you can glean things from it. But usually there's about 5 to 10 sessions going on concurrently at any time, so you can constantly pick ones that are of your interest. But that's our primary announcement that I have today, unless you guys had more. Oh yeah, we do have those office hours listed. Our next one is coming up here this month. That is going to be on Wednesday, January 14th, 6 o'clock at Tank Space on East 8th Street.
Can we
And-
explain a little what that is? That, there's planning commissioners and staff who are there.
You'll be there.
I'm going to be there. Who will answer questions that the public may have, and it's a part of our communications goal to have these office hours.
And obviously, we will be meeting in 2 weeks. That is the only other update I think that we discussed would be in there.
Yes, we do have that meeting on the 20th. It might be the 21st.
21st.
I think
It's
it's
a
moved to
Wednesday.
Wednesday
Mhm.
that,
Really
that week.
messed up
Yeah.
about that.
Jackie, then Midge.
If I could ask, can we get a report on how many members of the public are attending office hours?
So the last one we had in December, there was nobody.
It was very big snowstorm.
It was a snowstorm.
Yeah.
And it was the middle of the day, so that's fair. The one before that, I did not attend. Brian attended, and there were 2 people.
Thank you.
I did have an email from someone that we met with last month who expressed interest in coming in January. I don't know, but then she met with us, so I don't know if she's still planning to come, but that's the only person that has explicitly reached out about it to us.
So I think a little bit more time getting people used to it.
And it was
Testing it
called
out.
out in the recent Ticker article,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Okay.
A question I have for staff,
Yes.
I didn't see a memo or minutes about this, but is there an update from November's Local Officers Compensation Commission meeting
The only thing
that would have potentially discussed compensation for planning commissioners?
did they have that discussion in November?
Yes, they did.
I have not heard.
Okay.
The last I heard last month is that the discussion was forthcoming. So if it had
Well,
happened already, I
Maybe
haven't
they
been
had
informed.
some discussion, and
Yeah.
we'll have more discussion later.
And I don't think they meet very often,
No, they
correct?
don't.
Yeah, so
No.
Every 2 years.
every 2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
So I know the city manager has made that request. He informed me of that, but I've not heard any follow-up.
Yes, Jackie.
And just a PSA that the Grand Traverse County Housing Growth Corridor Strategy meeting is coming up on January the 12th, 3 to 4:30 p.m. at the Traverse City Curling Club. I don't know if you have any any more information to
Are
share.
they meeting on the ice? Is there a room there? Just
Well,
very
Jerry and I
curious.
are on a league at the curling club, so we're
Okay.
quite familiar with it. Yes, there is what's called the warm room. It's got a bunch
Ah.
of tables and
okay.
accommodations
was
for
very
serving. They got a
curious when I
kitchen
saw
in there and stuff.
No,
So
you have to
it's
do
a really
all the
nice.
talking
Actually,
while you're
Brian came and did a podcast on the curling club.
Mm.
He really wanted to join our league this year, but we were full. Sorry, bud.
Okay, any joint planning commission update? No. We meet in a
Um,
couple weeks?
No, yeah, January 28th, I believe it is. That one got moved a week because of the MLK holiday the week before. There is a scheduled public hearing that night regarding the development envelope.
And the sheds.
Yeah, it basically will address the need for a couple additional sheds at the community garden because there's 3 different nonprofits operating there. They all have their own tools and things like that. They have essentially wrapped up their review of their master plan, so we'll begin the conversation of possibly updating it. The conversations we've had with them through the review process, a lot of the updates are focused on reflecting what has happened since the last master plan. So a lot of the data is outdated now. It's kind of a unique area in that the focus in the master plan is pretty much preservation. You know, it's to preserve it as is rather than change a whole lot. So I don't anticipate any kind of massive update, just given the nature of the property and the constraints of the different conservation easements and historic easements and things like that.
Board of Zoning Appeals update.
Haven't met all of last year, and
Yeah.
our meeting for next week is already canceled.
Right. Riparian buffer update.
So I got today a map from the GIS department. Thank you very much. So it shows, it would allow you to zoom in on any property and see where the proposed buffer would be, and you can look and see what structures might be impacted and what properties. So it's a helpful way to do kind of ground truthing of the ordinance to see if it makes sense. So a draft has been put together, and I'm expecting that it will be on your next agenda at the study session, just to get, again, a gut check from the Planning Commission if we're on the right track. The committee asked to have their last changes brought back to them again. So we'll go back to them after we hear from you, and then, we'll go through the whole process of adoption and review by the design team and other internal reviews, and along with, I'm hoping, a lot of opportunity for public input because it will impact a lot of people, and we want to make sure we're getting it right. So,
Thank you. Grand Traverse County update.
Just 2 items, and thank you to Commissioner Anderson bringing up. First thing I wanted to talk about, which is our zoning atlas discussion at the Curling Club next Monday. At that meeting, Housing North and their consultant Flywheel will be talking about the growth corridor mapping project that we've been doing, as well as showing some modeling on some different sites that we've chosen to showcase higher density and affordable housing options for our community. The other update that I have for you is that the county in our 2026 budget has allocated funding for a community development or community coordination department or office. And so we are going through the process of understanding what that is going to look like. Obviously, the county wants to play a role in regional coordination. It's aligned with our strategic goals. And we're going to be looking at putting an RFP out for a consultant to help us kind of determine what a community coordination office would look like, what sort of staff we would be looking to bring on board, and just overall identifying, what our highest priorities would be in the next 1 to 3 years as we look to build that out. So more information on that definitely coming, but I think that's something big and exciting that we're doing at the county. So looking forward to sharing updates with you throughout the year.
Thank you. So this item, do we just receive and file the Garfield Township Master Plan Amendment Request for Comments 2025?
Yeah, and I had sent that out
That's
to you
the one
guys
from
before,
December.
but I just knew that we weren't going to be meeting until today, and I think they asked for feedback by like next week or something. So
Okay.
if anyone felt compelled, or as a, commission felt compelled, I mean, I hope that someone would have emailed me and we could have talked about it or something, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, we're moving on to public comment. This is the general public comment, so I'm going to open public comment. Again, please state your name, address, city resident.
Sure.
And 2 to 3 minutes. 5.
Fred Bimber, 1223 Randolph Street, city resident. I'll be brief. I have 2 proposals for your consideration and possible further action. Each of these relates to transparency, openness, and communication with the public. The first is, it appears from what I've heard tonight that the planning director sends a memo to planning commission members outlining for the next couple of months when the meetings will be and the topics that you're expected to talk about. That's the first I've heard of such a thing. If such a memo exists, post it along with the meeting materials on your website. It would be a convenient way of giving the public also a heads up about when meetings will occur and the likely topics. Good way of communicating with the public. It's cheap and simple. Secondly, also, and somewhat related, with respect to your meetings, people can show up and speak, or people can submit an email or some letter or some other type of written comment. I would suggest that you take whatever steps are necessary so that if you go through the city's website to meeting materials and you see things about the Planning Commission, you have the option to get not just the agenda and the agenda packet, but also public comment. There, simply post as received on a rolling basis the public comment that you've received about the topics for that meeting. That would be a good way of letting the general public know what do other members of the public think about this. What have they said about it? Right now, if you submit public comment by writing to the Planning Commission, it's like it goes into a black hole. Unless a particular commission member responds to you, you have no idea that they received it, that they're considering it, or what they've heard about it. I think you should adopt this other method of putting it there. It's more open to the public. It allows people that are making these comments to understand that, yes, it's out there. And my neighbors will see it as well. And it also incentivizes what you should try to incentivize for public comment on meetings like this. Almost all of us are going to make better, more organized, more complete, but more succinct comments when we put them in writing. And you have the opportunity to receive them and consider them in advance of the meeting. Let's try to incentivize written comment by truly making it public. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug Kimball, 523 North Spruce Street, Traverse City resident. I wanted to speak about zoning and relation to master plan. But first, January 22nd, 2024 governance session. Chet Janik said, in effect, the city departments are in place to serve the residents of Traverse City, to improve the lives of the residents of Traverse City. But I don't see that happening here. I see that you're working for the interests of developers and for people who don't live here but want to live here. In your marketing of this master plan to us, you continuously dismissed the impact of your master plan as merely a suggestion, just a guiding document. However, every time there's a development to be considered, you cite and refer to the master plan. In fact, the May 6, 2025 agenda packet for the meeting referenced the master plan 29 times. So we expressed over and over that we don't want commercialization of Bay Street. We don't want multifamily development on Bay Street. We want to preserve Slabtown as it is. So check out the listening session results and you'll see what we wanted. But instead, what we got is, well, perhaps, we could put some drive-by businesses in there, such as a dry cleaners. Well, you thought a dry cleaner would be a good place, that would be a good place to put a dry cleaner across from Grand Traverse Bay? So really, are you getting a lot of requests for dry cleaners in established neighborhoods? This shows exactly how far removed you are from the expressed wishes of allowing established neighborhood. You said the neighborhood preservation was top of the list when developing the master plan. So apparently, you're going to preserve Bay Street by changing it. Well, you know what? What are you saying to us? You want to preserve neighborhood, top of the list, but you're going to change our neighborhood. I don't get it. You didn't have to include this in the master plan, but you did because you want it to be commercial and multifamily. You can amend this. You can amend this plan, and that is what we want, for Bay Street to be R1B only, not transitional. So there you have one perspective from the peanut gallery.
Thank you.
All right, third time's a charm. Paul Wilkins, 610 North Madison Street. Planning assistant Miller did a great job taking me through the City Academy, and I did. I really listened, and I tried to learn as best I can. Chairperson Dimitri was talking about PUDs, and that's something I really don't understand. So this public comment, I'm kind of hoping that we get that verbal interaction, because when we talk about PUDs, and I kind of tried to follow the one that was recently at the church, but then I looked back at the one that was at TC Millworks over on Whitmer, or Woodmere. When I looked that up, I couldn't find a lot of records on the PUD, and I am on the zoning appeals board, but we never met. But apparently city staff approved setback variances, building square footage on the lot size, zoning variances. But was there public input involved? Were those meetings public when city staff met with the TC Millworks to negotiate this? And by the way, I do like that development. I think it's awesome. But I just question, and I'm still learning, I question the process. How does that work? Can I attend a PUD as a public person and kind of just listen in on those negotiations? So again, this is that verbal interaction. As I go to sit down, maybe you can tell me who I can talk to so I can better understand that process. All right, again, all about transparency. Can I look it up to see who was involved in those? Because that's kind of cool.
I think
All right,
so.
Thank you.
So a PUD is a planned unit development. It's a zoning tool which allows flexible, innovative design for mixed-use projects, including any and all residential, commercial open space on large sites, typically 3+ acres, that deviate from traditional zoning, encouraging clustering, preserving features, and integrating infrastructure, requiring planning commission and city commission review. and serve as an alternative to a SLUP, I'm pretty sure, but I could be incorrect, or just standard development of the site. Those don't get approved by staff. They go through the typical process of planning, review, and city implementation. Am I missing anything else? All of those, anytime they come before the Planning Commission, those are public hearings. There's public hearings involved, and those would be also put through public hearings at the city level before implementation. So there's at least like 2 meetings at each of those bodies that are public and accessible to the public and live online in perpetuity in recordings. Am I missing anything else?
No, the way it typically works, if someone's, we'll use the Millworks as an example because that's
Yeah.
a fresh one. They actually came 3 or 4 times to the Planning Commission in public meetings, plus 2 or 3 times at the City Commission. The first was when they presented their concept. And
It was like pre.
Yeah, well, because they wanted permission to apply on a property less than 3 acres. And so they provided their concept, and in there they were outlining what deviations they would need, why they would want the PUD, because and then once they were approved, then they finalized their application and stuff. So, yeah, those were all presented as what they needed to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission made a recommendation to the City Commission. We as staff we don't have any authority to approve those or anything like that. They present it to us as when they submit their application, and we package it up and provide it to the Planning Commission. And essentially, a PUD creates a lot-specific zoning ordinance for a unique development or something like that.
An agreement between.
Yes, and there's usually trade-offs. Sometimes you will see them present a public benefit in almost like a quid pro quo for what they're asking for. And in this case, they were going to provide they're going to build that trail down to the Boardman Lake Loop and stuff like that on their dime, which was something that our plan had called for.
But going forward, as part of a rewrite, I would like that much more just in plain language. Right now, it's not at all, and I think it gets really chaotic when a member of the public is just trying to read through our ordinances or search for it and try to get a definition, because it's mentioned in so many areas that you're just, okay, any other public comment? Okay, closing public comment. Thank you for being here, and this meeting's adjourned unless we have any other comments. Great, thank you.
Congrats, Nina. Got through the first.
It's gonna be hard for me. I have to pee, y'all. I drink a lot of